Ladies and gents, welcome to UX, and this is America's OG Green Beret, Sam Houston, the Raven. When you nickname like the Raven in real life, yeah, that must be some next level shit. So yeah, Green Beret stories are always awesome because they're Green Berets. Yeah, this is gonna be. I'm guessing another one of the badass stories. Usually, all fat recent stories are like that. But yeah, sometimes it's like a whole story and group of people rather than one people. But yeah, this is like I think he should tag this as the he used to like his old videos used to be like the badass Navy guy, badass this, so badass series. He should make that like about singular person. What's this one?
I have no authority to declare anything, but if you were to ask my opinion, this is the first Green Beret in American history. Today we're talking about Sam Houston, known to the Cherokee Nation as the Raven, also the big drunk, known to everybody else throughout different periods of his life as the first president of Texas, the last president of Texas, U.S. Senator, U.S. Congressman, Governor of Tennessee, Governor of Texas, Cherokee Nation delegate, and in my opinion, the very first Green Beret. And I know what you're thinking, the Green Berets weren't even officially founded until 1952, so how on earth—
Hold up there. So this is like when Texas became its own thing after like detaching from Mexico, and it was its own thing for a while. He was the president of that. Okay, so this story might be like something that I didn't expect, but it's gonna be awesome.
is a guy that died in 1863, almost 100 years prior, the first Green Beret, when Green Berets didn't even exist yet. Well, somebody had to do the job first before it became an official job, right? And I think that man is Sam Houston. So what is a Green Beret? What is their job? A Green Beret is an American Special Forces unit. Think of like Rambo. That's how the movies portray him. Just the ultimate badass running around with a machine gun. And that part today is true. But the real scope of the Green Berets job, what they specialize in, is going into a foreign nation, training rebel fighters, stoking a rebellion, destabilizing an entire nation for the benefit of the United States. Which is to a T exactly what Sam Houston did to Texas, presumably under the direct authority of Andrew Jackson.
That is basically what people think of America, at least in modern America. Whenever people think of American, it's like geo influence. They basically think of Green Beret, I'm guessing, judging from factors and description.
President at the time. And not only did he stir up a rebellion in Texas, he did such a good job that after the fact, they elected him as president. But we're going to get into all of that after a word from our sponsor.
Delete me.
Why do you have my trench sweeper?
The rabbits figured out how to use the trenches.
It's a burrow, sweetheart. Rabbits live. You know what? Fuck it. It's fine. All right, here's the deal. Super simple, straightforward business model. You give them money, they turn around and make sure that data brokers on the internet aren't selling your personal information. What is
Hey, well, go to original video page link, and from there support this channel.
the video? All right, our story begins on March 2nd, 1793, when Samuel Houston is born in Rockbridge, Virginia. He is the fifth of 9 kids, and he grows up in a big plantation house. Now, at this point in time, the Houston family has money. They are in the upper echelons of society. His grandfather, Robert Houston, was a major in the Revolutionary War, so they are in that aristocratic officer class. They got a big house, big library, they got money, everything's great. And Sam Houston is the wild child of the family. He doesn't like working, he doesn't like going to school, he wants to go out in the woods and hunt and dick off the entire time. Now, I say he doesn't like going to school, which is true, but it gives off the vibe that he's kind of a dumbass, which nothing could be further from the truth. The guy is borderline a genius. He spends a ton of time reading from his family library.
Schools used to be different back in the day. Even someone like Einstein, right, and like many big names didn't finish school. School isn't just like back then. School wasn't just some authority over like it's the best of the best that something has to offer. No, it was a string of things got together by certain people. Like this is school. Some people are probably obviously going to be dumber, so they can't do it. Some people are going to be like somewhat smarter than that system offers, so they can't do it. So you can have both fringes of people. Some who are like really smarter, but they didn't got along with how the system works, school system, and obviously the people who have lower IQ and overall like that. And also like, a lot of them like back then didn't value school in that way, not like how it is today. So some of them just by their condition, like maybe they're slightly poor, maybe just how their condition is. Yeah, so school wasn't as seen as it's seen today, I guess.
which is actually one of the biggest libraries in the area. By the time he's like 10 years old, he's reading the Iliad by Homer, and it's his favorite book, and he wants to go off and have a great adventure just like that. Now, around that same time, he starts to hit puberty, and by the time he's 12 years old, he is noticeably larger than all the other kids. He would eventually grow up to be somewhere between 6'2" and 6'4" in an era where the average height was 5'7". And at the age of 12, he wanted to know how tall he was. So naturally, he does what everyone does when they want to see how tall they are. He finds a door frame, he walks up to it, puts his back up to the door frame, and then, because this is, you know, America right after the Revolutionary War, he decides the best way of marking the doorway is with a gun. So he takes a flintlock pistol and puts it on his head and fires into the door frame to measure how high he is. I'm gonna be honest, that has nothing to do with the rest of the story. I just thought it was fucking hilarious. Anyways, at the age of 13, his father...
Yeah, people are afraid of firecrackers nowadays. I remember my childhood, something I shouldn't say on the YouTube, but the thing we used to do in the festivals when we'd have fireworks and things. But nowadays I've seen people like afraid of small firecrackers. This this dude was firing a damn pistol over his head. Where the bullet's gonna go inside the wood. What if wood flies off and like chips you in the head, like all the small chunks of it? You didn't care. There you go.
Passes away, and his mother Elizabeth decides she's going to move away from Virginia. She's going to take the kids all the way out to Tennessee, which at this point in time is the wild frontier. So at the age of 53 years old, Elizabeth Houston loads up her 9 kids in a covered wagon and makes the journey to Tennessee. During the journey, or shortly thereafter, his 2 oldest brothers wind up passing away. He is now the 3rd oldest in the family with 2 older brothers. So in a very short time period, at the age of 13, Sam Houston loses his father, his 2 older brothers. He goes from living in a massive plantation house with a huge library.
Yeah, again, I don't want to pause too much, but I remember like somebody, there was Bill Burr. I don't know who that was. I don't know who that was exactly. But somebody making a joke like how much modern technology we take it for granted. Something like planes or even cars. If you want to go from one side to another side, just at the like Mexico border, it takes like few days, right? Like 2-3 days. Back then, if you were to go from a state to multiple state, it takes such a long time that literal people passed away. A journey, as the sounds, it was a proper journey. Journey to the West level of shit. It takes multiple books. People literally passed away during that time. That's insane when you think about it. Nowadays, people take plane and you are in the other side of the globe in like matter of days. That's insane.
To what amounts to a cabin in the woods on the wild frontier in Tennessee, and he is now expected to help out so the whole family can survive, and he absolutely hates it. He doesn't want to work all day. He wants to go read books and dick off in the woods. Not interested in this working stuff. And while living out in Tennessee on what amounts to the wild frontier, he has run-ins with Native Americans, and he absolutely loves their culture. He loves how they dress, he loves how they act, he loves their outlook on life of just, we're gonna go out in the woods, we're just gonna live, survive, do what we want. So by the time he's 16 years old, he runs away from home to live with the Cherokee. After he's been gone for a couple of weeks, the family assumes that he's been kidnapped by the Native Americans, so his 2 older brothers go out there to rescue him. When they find him in a, Cherokee territory, and he's sitting up against a tree reading the Iliad by a river, and his brothers are like, hey, we're here to rescue you. And he's like, I don't need to be rescued. They leave, he stays with the Cherokee. After that, it becomes apparent to pretty much everybody that he's staying and he's not going anywhere, so the chief of the Cherokee, Ilioteca, also known as John Jolly, basically adopts him as his own son, and gives him the Cherokee name Kaloa, which translates to the Raven. From here, he spends the next 3 years of his life living as a Cherokee, knows how to shoot a bow and arrow, knows how to ride a horse, everything. Then in 1813, he's 19 years old, he's been living with the Cherokee for 3 years, and he hears about the War of 1812 that's going on right now. Young man, grandfather fought off the British in the Revolutionary War. The British are back at war with America again. He interprets it as the Revolutionary War Part 2.0, so he wants to go off and fight for his country just like his grandfather did. The problem, he's 19, and at this point in time, you have to either be 21 years old or have parental consent to join the American military. So he goes back home to his mom Elizabeth to get permission to join the military. Mom does in fact give him permission, but she also says, and I quote, "My son, take this musket and never disgrace it. For remember, I had rather all my sons fill one honorable grave than one of them should turn his back to save his life. Go and remember too that while the door of my cottage is open to brave men, it is eternally shut against cowards."
Come back with your shield. Or on it.
Now remember, Sam Houston's
All right. See, I was thinking like maybe like like his adopted father. Yeah, his father, the newer father, would have like okay, this is not how we Cherokees do this and that. Like there's gonna be drama there, but that wasn't the case apparently. He just went to back to his mother. His mother like, oh, you back, all right? Okay, you wanna go fight war? Okay, yeah, don't be a bitch. That's all that was.
Grandfather was a major. He comes from officer lineage. He could join the military in the officer class, but that's not his style, so he just joins the infantry as a private. And by sheer chance, he gets attached to the 39th Infantry under the command of Andrew Jackson. He pretty much immediately starts climbing up through the ranks. I mean, he's a 6'2" giant in an era where everybody else is 5'7". He's also been living with the Native Americans in the woods for the past 3 years. He's an excellent soldier. Now, a little bit of context on the War of 1812. We're not going to get into the whole thing. Brief summary. It's basically about maritime rights. Essentially, the British are coming over, they're capturing American ships, and they're forcing all the American sailors to be conscripted into the British military. America uses this as an excuse to go to war, then they try to annex part of Canada. The entire thing just devolves into one big pissing match, basically America telling Great Britain, we're not going to let you bully us. And during the War of 1812, different American tribes picked sides. So like the British were backed up by the Creek Indians and the Americans were backed up by the Cherokee. Because of this, in August of 1813, 1,000 Creek Indian warriors decided that they were going to attack an American fort, Fort Mims in Alabama, which they did, and they proceeded to slaughter 500 people. Now, obviously, this is a frontier and everybody was dead, so it takes a while for word to get back to Washington when it actually happened, but once they hear word, they send in Samuel Jackson, Andrew Jackson, and the 39th Infantry Division, accompanied by Samuel Houston, to go exact revenge. The whole Sam Houston, Andrew Jackson thing is going to mess me up this entire video.
Samuel L. Jackson, it'll get you drunk.
By the time the 39th Infantry tracks down the Creek Indians, it's March of 1814, and Sam Houston has risen to the rank of lieutenant all on his own. He has achieved officer class through his own merit, not nepotism. So the 39th Infantry tracks down the Creeks, and it is not going to be an easy battle.
Yeah, nepotism was a thing back then, right? Especially in the military rank. It surprised me when I learned it from Electrician. Like that was a thing. I mean, rationally, if you process what the time was and how things used to work, you're like, yeah, maybe it makes sense. Like if you take a step back and just see it like how military is supposed to be, it's very mathematical and scientific in a way. Because you're trying to achieve something. This is not about like everyday living. It's military. Like, why would you have nepotism there? Like, you want the best soldiers, the best trained, best. Like that's how they rose through the rank. But all right.
They are held up in a place called Horseshoe Bend, probably one of the best defensive positions geographically you could possibly have. It's this little like peninsula type thing with a river on 3 sides, and on the one way in, they have a massive barricade made. They're in a fortified fighting position. They have British muskets, British supplies. This is not like you see in the movies where it's just Native Americans playing little teepee on the prairie, dicking off, and the American military rolls in and slaughters everybody. No, these are like 1,000 hardened warriors that know how to conduct.
Yeah, that's so true, right? Like Hollywood does that shit a lot. Well, look at their like under technology. Oh, look at them. They're just playing with like, like this board leaves and like some kind of a hatchet. And here comes America, just like, it's just like slow music plays where like slaughter begins and like sad music plays. Yeah, right. Like there is that element, sure, but like that wasn't all the case. Like it was still a battle, right? Like they weren't like somebody just like playing around. Right, this like native Indians were deadly in their places. They knew the land. There's a reason why it dragged off. Otherwise, it would be like over in a week.
Warfare. This is going to be a fight and a half. So under the command of Andrew Jackson, the 39th Infantry takes their time. They have to. They've got him cut off. This barricade's in the way. So he sends some men out and around to the other side of the river, kind of occupy that territory so they can't make an escape. He then has Cherokee working with him. He sends his Cherokee in under the cover of night to steal all the Creek's canoes so they can't make a getaway.
Just acquired them?
Yeah, we acquired them.
Once that's all set up, Andrew Jackson orders they start hitting this barricade with artillery. It's not very effective. Eventually, he just has to order a full frontal assault into this fortified barricade. So they rush the barricade. The first guy over the barricade is Lemuel Montgomery, the guy that Montgomery, Alabama is named after. He gets shot and killed immediately. The second guy over the barricade is Sam Houston. It is now 6'2", 225-pound giant Sam Houston with a fucking sword hopping over the wall, fighting Native Americans.
I'm imagining Paul Heyman introducing him like Brock Lesnar. 6'2", 220 pounds, Sam Houston, he just appears with a smoker. There you go.
American warriors, trying to give his men enough time to also scale the wall. During this fight, he ends up taking an arrow to the thigh, but keeps fighting till the rest of his men are able to scale over this wall.
Who threw this thing at me? Shut up, baby.
So thanks to Sam Houston, they've broken through the first fortified position. The Creeks have fallen back to their secondary fortified position, and Sam Houston now takes the time to grab another lieutenant and is like, you, come here, yank this arrow out of my thigh. This lieutenant yanks on this arrow, doesn't budge. It's barbed. The Creek Indians used barbed arrows.
Ooh, and how the fuck is he just like... Barbed arrow means he cut through inside and he just like grabbed onto it, like how the hatchet styles, those screws work, right? Wouldn't that be painful as fuck? Like some things like that, you know, like scientifically thinking, medically at least, think like that should send you into shock, right? Like maybe adrenaline is like enough to push it back. But if it happened like everyday life to somebody, the pain would be so much you might be delirious or in shock. Because that kind of like barbed thing is too much, right? Like if it's like straight through, maybe you can withstand it. Like, yeah, you people do that, bullet holes and things like that. But like barbed, that shit is next level. He literally took the arrow to the knee, right? You just insert the Skyrim guard dialogue.
Lieutenant yanks on it again. Doesn't budge. Again, I can't stress this enough. You have to remember Sam Houston is basically a fucking giant, and everybody just watched this dude scale a barricade by himself with a sword and fight off Native Americans. And this poor lieutenant sitting there yanking on this arrow on his thigh. And on the third try, Sam Houston looks down at this guy with a sword still in his hand and says, and I quote, "Try again. If you fail this time, I will smite you to the earth." So presumably this poor lieutenant's shitting his pants. He just puts everything he has.
Is that good though? Like pulling that wound that like bleed him to death? What if it hits artery, right? It's barbed.
Into it and yanks this arrow out, but because it's barbed, it slices Sam Houston's thigh open way more and blood starts gushing out everywhere. So Sam Houston goes back to the aid station, has the field surgeon bandage him up. While he's in the aid station,
God damn it. Look at all the blood. Look at what you did. You made the mess of it. Sucks. I guess I'm gonna go back and patch myself up. What the fuck? Does that guy feel no pain?
Andrew Jackson happens to go in there to see the men, recognizes Sam Houston as the fucking giant that scaled the barricade and broke through, congratulates him on like his valor and everything, and then tells him, you know, hey, you've done enough, sit the rest of this battle out. Sam Houston doesn't listen. As the battle progresses throughout the day, he's still in the aid station, and finally he hears that, you know, the Creeks have fallen back to their final line of defense. He needs volunteers for people that are willing to go in there and break through. Without asking permission, Sam Houston grabs his musket and his saber, and he hobbles his ass out there and helps break through the final line of defense. During that fight, he's shot 2 times in the shoulder and the arm, and he's just laying there in this field in the mud, and eventually the surgeons make their way to him. They start operating on him right in the field. They get the first musket ball out of his arm, and the surgeon's just like, this dude's dead. I'm not going to be able to save him. I'm not going to waste my time torturing him even more trying to get this musket ball out when he's going to die anyways. They literally leave Sam Houston for dead. But Sam Houston...
Hold up there. How many times did that shit happen? Like, I get it. Like, it's battlefield. You have to make, like, decisions. Sure. Like, you can't waste resources. But that kind of a judgment, how sure are you? Like, as a... Like, people think of, like, oh, medical officers. They're like, okay, you just patch people up. Like, that's not that... Yeah, people don't think about this judgment element. Like, that's big. You're like, oh, that person's dead. I'm not going to waste my time on it and just walk away. Like, what if that person could have been saved? You just doomed that person. I mean, you can't be 100% sure of anything. Obviously, that's how it was. But you're on the field. You don't have that much equipment. You can't know anything for sure. But that's some next level pressure, man. Right? Imagine if you just doom some guy and he still lives and like somehow survives, and then it dawns on you like how many people did I just assume is gonna die, didn't, and now you have to live with that shit.
Doesn't die. After laying there for like a day, he's eventually just like, okay, I guess I'll go home. My mom said the door to her cottage is always open as long as I'm not a coward. Definitely not a coward. So he goes back home to mom. By the time he gets home, he's so jacked up, his mom doesn't even recognize him.
Slowly turn. Father.
For the next couple of weeks or months, mom nurses him back to health the best she can, but he's still got a musket ball lodged in his shoulder. She can't take care of that, so he has to go to Washington, D.C. to get surgery. The surgery there almost kills him, but he survives. Now at this point, he's messed up. He could just get out of the military, get discharged, wouldn't be an issue. But while he's in Washington, D.C., he sees that the British and the Canadians have burnt down the White House and the rest of the Capitol, and he's furious. He doesn't want to leave the military. Andrew Jackson, his former commander, finds out about this.
I remember Trump calling Trudeau and like, didn't you people burn down the White House? It's like, what the fuck? That shit is next level, man. Okay, so you rebuild the White House the same way it was, or like was remodeling there? I don't know. But yeah, White House was burned down once. Right now, in today's world, thinking about this just feels so surreal. Because at this stage, there's nothing, no power in the world can come close to burning down a White House. There are missiles there, but still, like, even those won't reach the White House. So, yeah, like, that's so surreal to think about. Like, there was a time where White House was burned down. All right.
And at this point in time, he's the major general of the Tennessee militia. So when he hears that Sam Houston not only survived, but wants to keep serving the country, he has him placed directly under his staff, and he moves out to Tennessee to work underneath Andrew Jackson. From here, he basically becomes Andrew Jackson's political protege, and Andrew Jackson kind of becomes a father figure to Sam Houston. Because of that, Sam Houston eventually gets to the point that he wants to get more involved in politics, just like Andrew Jackson, so he resigns his officer commission, and Andrew Jackson arranges for him to go study under a judge to get his law degree. Usually that takes about 2 years. Sam Houston does it in 6 months, runs for public office, wins a small role, resigns, runs for a larger office, wins that, and then Andrew Jackson is running for U.S. Senate, so Sam Houston decides he's going to run for Congress. They run at the same time, they both win, and head off to Washington, D.C. together. While serving as a congressman, he has a meeting with Marquis de Lafayette. If you don't know, this is like the main guy from France that brought the French over to aid the Americans in the American Revolution. Like, literally, without this one guy, America might have never won the Revolutionary War. Super important dude. And he tells the young Sam Houston, look, you can't let this experiment of democracy fail. All of Europe is looking at you guys right now, hoping that democracy fails, because if you guys prove right, if you prove this is possible, you're going to show the world that they don't need kings, they don't need monarchs.
Are you fucking kidding? Awareness of that level back then. I mean, obviously there are like people like your American founding fathers, but also these French. So there were literal people who were like witnessing history and knowing that this is such a pivotal point in history. Like, it's just next level. Just thinking about that, like, it's insane, man. These people, like, back then, like, people didn't have the access to the education, like, information like we have today. So back then, there are people who know this, like, how insanely smart you have to be to have this kind of an insight. Like, oh, America, this is like big experiment. You need, like, it's true. After that, look at, like, democracy dominates the world. It's probably started from America, right? It is the modern version of it. And this was the pivotal point.
They don't need royalty, and that common men can lead themselves. They all want you to fail. You cannot let this fail. And the young Sam Houston takes that to heart, and it's going to be really important later on.
That's called foreshadowing.
Sam Houston then serves his term as a congressman and then heads back to Tennessee to run as governor and wins that as well. Sam Houston is now one of the most important people in the country. Everybody already knows Andrew Jackson is going to be president one day. Everybody's looking at Sam Houston like he's Andrew Jackson's protege. He's going to be president one day too. He's a young guy. He's tall. He's good looking. He's a veteran. He's got everything going for him. So the next thing to do on the political checklist is to get a wife from some wealthy, noble, well-to-do family, which is exactly what he does. He goes out and marries this rich girl from Nashville, Tennessee, and their marriage only lasts for about 11 weeks before they wind up getting divorced. At the time, this was a humongous political scandal. This, up-and-coming politician, the governor of Tennessee, gets married and then gets divorced 11 weeks later. Like, this is a huge deal. It's got everybody talking. Now, we don't know exactly why they got the divorce, but the best guess that I was able to find was Sam Houston had accused her of cheating on him publicly, which was a huge no-no, and then he got proven wrong. She didn't cheat on him, which was an even bigger no-no. He disgraced and dishonored his wife and her family, which was a wealthy, powerful family in Tennessee. He is basically forced to resign in disgrace from the governor of Tennessee. This is an enormous taboo at the time. Like, that's it. He's done. He's nuked his entire political career, has no idea what to do with his life. So he's like in the depths of depression, has no idea what's going on. And he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to move back into Indian territory.
That would feel so surreal today, but again, in today's world, obviously, religion is also strong today. It's not like it's not. But yeah, atheism is getting stronger. It's a scientific modern world we live in. Back then, religion was even more stronger than you would think. you would think, than today. Right? Religion was insanely strong. So marriage as a concept was much stronger than it is seen today. Right nowadays, like people get married like next day they could get like divorced. Like nobody's gonna give a fuck. Oh, you did that, all right. Back then it wasn't some easy thing, especially if you have like this kind of like stigma around it, like you're the governor, you should be setting example, this and that, like all the shit you think about president, right? All president has to be married, like America still has that element, right? So, things like that. So back then, governor, also like wealthy family, like just that was the reason. Like it wasn't some weird shit like, oh, just because they're rich, this happened, otherwise it wouldn't happen. No, it's the concept of marriage, I think.
And at this point in time, the Cherokees that he had been living with had been relocated to Oklahoma, so he just sets off to Oklahoma. So that's it. He just disappears in disgrace. He boards a riverboat headed out towards Oklahoma. While he's on this riverboat, he's really considering throwing himself overboard, and he finally convinces himself that's what he's going to do. And he's standing there at the guardrail of this riverboat, and he's about to just throw himself in the river and be done with it. And then
that is literally the start of a movie, by the way. How did I get here? Just like, boat moving, you look like shit because you're at the lowest point of your life. And then the movie start about his whole career, like the Fat Reason just told the story about military, running for government, marrying a rich girl, all that stuff. This is literally a 3-hour long story. Hollywood could make this shit and people are like, oh, that was good.
And all of a sudden, he sees an eagle screech and fly overhead, and then the eagle flies west. And because he grew up with the Cherokee, he interprets this as an omen that he has a bigger purpose in life and he's headed the right direction. So he decides to not throw himself over that guardrail, makes it all the way back to Oklahoma, and meets back up with his original foster father.
Oh, look at this. Superstitions had some positive to it. If they didn't believe in this shit, he probably would have like jumped in. So there you go.
Father, John Jolly. From here, he's just out there living with the Cherokee, becomes a pretty brutal alcoholic. He's drunk 24/7. When he's not drunk, he opens up a trading post, starts running back and forth between Fort Gibson and the Cherokee Nation, delivering supplies. That's how he makes his money. He's drinking so much that the guy in charge of Fort Gibson accuses him of buying booze to sell to the Native Americans, when in reality, he's just drinking it all himself. And this is the point in time when the Cherokee go from referring to him as Raven to the Big Drunk. Despite that, he still did manage to do some good. He understood politics. He knew how politics worked at this point in time. And there was a bunch of like government contracts being given out to, companies that were supposed to go help the Native Americans do things. And a lot of these companies would just take the money and not actually render the service to the Native Americans. There was also illegal smuggling going on, all kinds of stuff. So Sam Houston went and rooted out a lot of that corruption. And this goes on for years.
Are you telling me that government gave a huge amount of money to things that didn't go where it's supposed to? That shit would never happen in modern world.
And then like 3-4 years later, the Cherokee Nation, for some reason, has to send a delegate to Washington, D.C. to represent them. And despite his alcoholism, he's still the best man for the job. He has political experience. He knows both cultures. He speaks both languages. So they elect him as their delegate and send him to Washington, D.C. And when Sam Houston shows up in...
Do you have any experience in anything political? Were you like a, I don't know, like ward boy or something? Like, I don't know, like some cleaner boy at some political office? No, I was a governor. Oh, were you? All right. I guess that's going to work.
Washington, D.C. He shows up dressed in a Cherokee outfit, speaking Cherokee.
Damn. Hardballs or whatever.
Now I'm called Tuca Chinchilla.
What does it mean?
Fluffy bunny feet.
And you gotta understand, the people...
Hot Shots, that was the movie's name, right? I remember that, like Charlie Sheen movie. It's about like making fun of Rambo and yeah. I miss parody movies, man. There were some great things.
People at the time, this is fucking crazy. This was like the hotshot political up-and-comer that just disappeared 3 or 4 years ago, and now he shows back up dressed like a Native American, speaking Native American tongue. It's wild. Imagine if, I don't know, J.D. Vance or Gavin Newsom, like some young up-and-comer that people think is gonna be president one day. Imagine he got a divorce from his wife and then just disappeared for years and then showed back up as a representative for a foreign nation, dressed like them and speaking their language. It would be fucking crazy. Then you combine that with the fact that Andrew...
People would just say the boy lost his damn mind. He took that divorce too hard. That's what people think.
Andrew Jackson is president at the time, so not only was it some young political up-and-comer, but it was the protege of the now sitting president. So everybody's kind of looking at Andrew Jackson like, hey, have you seen your boy? Like, what's going on here? Nobody knows if Andrew Jackson's mad, if he's going to disown him, give him the cold shoulder. Nobody knows what's going to happen. They finally run into each other at a party in Washington, D.C. Andrew Jackson walks right up to him, gives him a humongous hug, sending the message to everybody, this is still my homie.
You son of a bitch.
So Sam Houston still has some pretty powerful allies in Washington, D.C., but unfortunately, he also still has a bunch of enemies because he pissed off a bunch of corrupt.
I think people forget that once you go through battlefield and war as a military people, smaller shit like certain public stigmas and public spats are not enough to disown someone. You have memories of those military battlefield that you see every time you go to sleep. Yeah, that shit's gonna be stronger than any of this shit.
Politicians by rooting out that corruption in Indian territory. So in the coming days, Ohio Congressman William Stanberry accuses Sam Houston of being the corrupt one that was taking advantage of the Native Americans on the floor of Congress. At this, Sam Houston is absolutely furious. He then proceeds to go back, get all the documentation to prove everything, brings it to Congress, all the receipts, completely exonerates himself, proves his complete innocence, and then goes outside of Congress and waits for William Stanberry to come out, and then proceeds to beat the shit out of him with a hickory stick. And this now has the eyes of the entire nation. This is peak political drama. This Tennessee governor disappears for 3 years, comes back dressed as a Native American. Now he's beating the fuck out of congressmen with hickory sticks. Like,
This is how we do it in our place, boy. This is like Texan all over again. Yeah, in our time, like in our place, this is how we, resolve the dispute. Where's my stick at? They're like, I'm a congressman. I don't give a fuck.
everybody's paying attention to what's happening. William Stanberry goes to the Speaker of the House and is like, we have to, punish this guy. We need to have a court hearing. He just assaulted a congressman, which obviously they do have to do that. So they set it up. Luckily for Sam Houston, he's still homies with the president. So the president hooks him up, buys him a nice fancy suit so he looks good for his hearing, gets him set up with somebody to organize his defense, a guy by the name of Francis Scott Key, like the guy that wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, Francis Scott Key. Yeah, that guy. And again, this is all over the newspapers. The entire country is watching this thing unfold. So when the day comes for the hearing, it's going to be a packed house. Like, it's going to be a sold out venue. Everybody's going to be there watching to see what happens. And the day before the hearing, Sam Houston, who's still a violent alcoholic at the time, decides, you know what? I'm gonna get fucking shit-faced. Proceeds to go and get super drunk the day before arguably the biggest day in his life, like literally determining his freedom. And he goes out, he gets drunk, goes back home.
What is this episode of Suits? I guess this shit is happening.
Home to his hotel, gets the guy working at the hotel, gives him a wad of cash and a pistol. And he's like, okay, here's what I need you to do. I need you to bring me a cup of coffee in the morning. If the coffee works, use the money to hire me a barber, get me cleaned up, make sure I get to Congress on time. If the coffee doesn't work, just fucking shoot me in the head because it's all over. Next morning rolls around. Apparently the coffee worked because Sam Houston shows up to Congress looking pretty good in his fancy new suit. Unfortunately, his representative, Francis Scott Key, also decided that he liked drinking and went out and got Star-Spangled hammered the night before, and he's now too hungover to represent Sam Houston. So Sam Houston has to represent himself.
You may present your client's case.
You're fired.
He goes up there, presumably hungover, delivers a speech that apparently is just awesome because the packed floor of Congress gives him a standing ovation. Everybody absolutely loves it. Despite that, he's still found guilty because regardless of how charismatic he
What the fuck? This is like, I don't know, it's like a Family Guy scene or something. Just everybody just stands up, like inspirational music plays in the background, everybody's just crying. That was beautiful. Yeah, but this is not how real world works. Yeah, you're still guilty. Get the fuck out of here.
is, or what he said, he did still in fact beat the shit out of a congressman with a hickory stick, so he is found guilty. He shows up to sentencing the next day, and the Speaker of the House, he's standing there waiting to find out if he's going to prison for the rest of his life or not, and the Speaker of the House is just like annoyed, and he's like, I've been ordered by Congress to admonish you and deliver your sentencing, so consider yourself admonished. You're free to go. Like literally just the energy of dad getting called into the office, being informed that his son was fighting, and then he's like, what was he fighting about? Oh, he was getting picked on, and then he beat up his bully. Like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'm taking your ass to fucking Disneyland. That was awesome. Let's go. That's pretty much what just happened. From here.
Yeah, I think president probably had some influence over that. Just call the guy speaker like, yeah, this shit is not happening.
Sam Houston has just re-entered the political spotlight in spectacular fashion. I mean, dude came out of nowhere, beat up a corrupt politician who wouldn't want to do that, and then gets away with it scot-free. Like, he has just re-won the heart of the entire nation. Everybody now loves this guy. So now Sam Houston is no longer just Andrew Jackson's homie that's a little bit weird wearing Native American clothing. He's loved by the entire nation. He's got some political capital behind him, and Andrew Jackson presumably concocts a plan. Now, important context, Andrew Jackson really, really wants the Texas territory to be part of the United States of America. He thinks it's going to be the most important, most profitable, biggest, most powerful state in the entire union if he can get them to join the United States. By this point in time, there's already a ton of American and European settlers that are moving to Texas and buying land because it's so incredibly cheap there, because nobody lives there and it's so damn big. Andrew Jackson's been trying to buy the Texas territory from the Mexican government for a while now, but the government keeps changing so much that he can't get any traction on the negotiation. There's already some disputed territory between the two, and now he has a 6-foot tall, 250-pound giant that's got military experience and an outrageous amount of charisma, and in the back of his head, presumably, he's like, I could send this guy in there to start a revolution and then take it over.
Whose car are we gonna take?
I want to be clear when I say this. I want to be 100%.
Oh my god. Half of the video is over. I just said about the boat scene, like this could be start of the movie and presumably end of the movie, but I forgot the point of this whole video. He's the first Green Beret who's gonna do all this like saboteur level shit and get Texas. That shit is just beginning now. Okay.
Intellectually honest, we have no written evidence that Andrew Jackson sent Sam Houston into Texas to start a revolution. However, most of the Texas Revolution historians that specialize in this all agree, like, yeah, Sam Houston didn't just accidentally wake up one day in the political spotlight and be like, you know what would be a good idea? To move out into the desert of Texas for no fucking reason. Then when you combine that with the fact that Andrew Jackson then proceeds to make Sam Houston his emissary to the Comanche, Apache, and Cherokee Indians in the Texas territory, and then gave him a bunch of money and financial backing and sent him there, it just kind of makes sense. And this is why I would argue that Sam Houston is the first Green Beret. He is essentially, presumably, under presidential orders to go into a foreign nation, destabilize it, and acquire it for America. Now, to be fair, it's already pretty unstable. It's not densely populated. There's a ton of civil wars going on in Mexico all the time, and Texas is kind of like an out backwater for Mexico. Like, there's not a lot going on up there as far as Mexico is concerned. On top of that, it's mostly populated by European immigrants and Native American tribes from North America that have been relocated down there. I mean, at this point in time, the native Mexican Tecanos only make up about 1/8 of the population inside the territory of Texas. So Sam Houston heads down to Texas, crosses into Texas by himself on horseback in December 2nd, 1832, presumably under orders by the President of the United States to acquire the entire region. So Sam Houston rides into Texas and immediately...
Hold up there. Okay, this just makes sense because I don't like theories too much. Like, I'm the kind of guy, like, I need evidence. But this is so overwhelming. Like, okay, first of all, everything is good. Like, he's a drunk. He's such a low point in his life that he was, like, went back to the Native American land. He was obviously drunk all the time. Then he came back, beat the shit out of, like, a congressman. Have now a real political power behind it. President is still buddy-buddy with him. There is no reason for him to just suddenly say, fuck it, I'm going to Texas, I'm doing this thing. So it just makes sense that President being his friend, and he suddenly deciding to go to Texas, yeah, it's probably backed by President. Of course, President is not going to say this. It's like the White House show from Netflix, like before Kevin Spacey got like, like axed, right? Like how the level of shit shenanigans were happening. I can see that happening, like White House shenanigan happening that nobody knows about, but people assume, yeah, it probably happened, that kind of thing. You know, people, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to make second video tomorrow. I guess the first portion of this video was like introduction, and now it's going to be the real meat of the thing will continue tomorrow about like how he basically won Texas and became the first Green Beret. All right, I'll see you next time.